Okay, the last idea is when I have a power raised to another power. Here I have 2f to the fourth to the 6. Now the first thing that sometimes gets confused is that this inside exponent, this fourth power, only applies to the f. It does not apply to the 2. But this sixth power, which is on the outside of parentheses, applies to the entire 2f to the fourth. So 2f to the fourth to the 6 is 2f to the fourth times itself 6 times. That can get a little confusing. Well, let's do a little rearranging. Because it's multiplication, I can do it in any order I want. Let's move all the 2's to the front and all the f to the fourths to the back. And there we have 2 times itself 6 times, and f to the fourth times itself 6 times. Well, if we do the multiplication on the 2's, we get 64. And if we do the multiplication on the f to the fourth, if we add up all the exponents, we get f to the 24. But if we make this a little bit simpler, the rule is this. When you have an exponent raised to another exponent, what you do is you multiply. 4 times 6 is 24. Now, this doesn't negate the rule when we have regular numbers. This is just a 2. 2 is not an exponent. So I do not do 2 times 6. That would be wrong. That's not multiplication here. It's 2 to the 6th power, which is 2 times itself 6 times, which is 64. Okay, these ones are getting a little complicated, but I'm going to have you give this one a shot. Remember, it's every single one to the third power. -2 to the third power, b to the -2 to the third power, and c cubed to the third power. And when you're done, make sure you write it with only positive exponents. Go ahead and give this one a try. Okay, now it's time for the big whopper. Here we go. Let's take a look. I've got all sorts of parentheses. I've got all sorts of powers. But if I just do it simply, step by step, looking at numbers, looking at letters individually, and just doing them one at a time, it's not that difficult of a problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is just look at all the regular numbers. Nothing about letters, just the regular numbers. So as I look through here, I have 3, here's one of my regular numbers, and 5. And it's in a line of multiplication. So remember, I can reorder multiplication. I can do 3 times 5 before doing any of the rest of it because it's all multiplication. There are no numbers in the bottom. So when my final answer comes, I'm going to only have 3 times 5, which is 15 in it. Now this 15 is going to be on the top of my fraction because 3 and 5 are both on the top of my fraction. Okay, now let's move on to the next letter. So those are the numbers. Now let's move on to the letters. X to the -2 times x, there's no power, so that would be x to the 1. This is multiplication, same base, so I add. That becomes x to the -1. -2 plus 1. Okay, now let's do the y's on the top here. Y cubed times y to the -8. Again, multiplication, so I add, is y to the -5th. 3 plus -8 is -5. Now let's look at the bottom. Again, do the top by itself, the bottom by itself, and then we'll reduce. So x to the negative 3 to the fourth means that I have to multiply because it's a power to another power. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. X to the negative 12. And y to the negative 2, there's nothing to simplify yet there, so I'll just write it as is. Okay, first step is done. Now, I need to look again at the numbers. 15 over, I don't see anything there. What number is there? I hope you said 1. 15 over 1, still 15. So I'm just going to write 15 again on the top. X to the negative 1 divided by x to the negative 12. Now I'm doing subtraction. The top power minus the bottom power. Negative 1 minus a minus 12, which would be plus. Negative 1 plus 12 is 11. If you come with a positive answer here, this means that your power is in the top. Positive powers are on the top of the fraction. Remember, negative powers means that they're on the bottom. We'll see that in a moment. So if I go y to the negative fifth divided by y to the negative 2, I get negative 5 minus a minus 2 plus 2. That's negative 3. Well, I could write y negative 3 here, but to be officially correct, we need to have a positive exponent. So instead of writing y to the negative 3, which would be correct but not in the right form, I'm going to write y on the bottom, but with a positive exponent, positive 3. Now, I expect not all of you are going to get this one on the first try. So when you get to class, that's when we'll really work on it.